Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bad Bit Games. I'm your host, Joseph, and today is the Bad Bit Show where we talk to people who get me passionate and who are passionate about video games. And today with me is Mr. Luke Lohr. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on, sir.
I gotta thank you because you saved my arse last night. Because here I am, I'm panicking, right? I had
Mhm.
someone scheduled, and it's just the way things go sometimes, like with podcasts and such. Sometimes they don't make it, there's time differences, and it's the worst. So you saved me. Thank you so much for being on the show. And let me tell you something. I wanted you on the show since when Sean did the charity stream for his cancer drive, and when we had that really great conversation about games, like all
Yeah.
of us, and it was really you who started the avalanche of just people coming in and talking and just having a whole bunch of awesome time together. So, with that, Mr. Luke Lohr, what is the first game that got you to fall in love with video games? That's how I always started off because I think it's the most important question. Like everybody has it down, but there's just it's always different for everybody. So what's your game that you fell in love with?
Man, I knew this question was coming, and I've
Mm.
been racking my brain. I don't remember my first game. I
Mm.
have like a slew. I remember my mom once trying to placate me when I was a rowdy kid and put me on her Atari playing Empire Strikes Back, where
Ooh.
you flew around at AT-AT Assault, some type of thing like that.
Mm.
Um, and of course, I remember Mario. That seems to be like the standout memory that we all have.
Yep.
But I just remember being a kid and being fascinated with buttons, like the idea that you could press something and something will happen on screen,
Yeah.
and that was magic.
Yeah. That, and it still sometimes just like gets to me, like when it's like you're doing an action and it's just yeah, it's like that magic moment of like we all take for granted of it just happening.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's so beautiful. So you would say Atari is your entry point to the console
I think I would.
gaming?
No, I would credit the NES, but
Okay.
I'm thinking that I saw an Atari first, but like consciously, I think it was the NES. That
Yeah.
first Mario.
Yeah, to me it's also like subconsciously it's the NES as well as my first gaming console, but like like I say this all the time, like I'm watching my brother play. Maybe I'm playing
Hmm.
a little bit, but it's not the thing that hooks me in. And I like to me mine is Super Mario World. Can't go wrong with
Yeah,
Super Mario World. And I feel
yeah.
like that's just such the safe answer though. So you're
It
playing.
is it's well it's either Super Mario World or Mario 3, and those two camps tend to conflict quite vehemently.
Dude, it's same with in this household. My brother and I, he's Mario 3, I'm Super Mario World. And I'm like,
Mhm.
"How? Super Mario 3, like I get it. It's a good game, guys. It's a great game, but it's Super Mario World. Like to me it's just like duh." Like
It's
every other
Mario
Mario doesn't
3.
exist until we get to World to me.
It's Mario 3. It has to be Mario 3. It had an
Okay.
overworld map. It
Yeah.
had flying. Those power-ups were incredible. The Tanuki suit was
Tanuki
awesome.
suit. We named our cat after that suit. So, I mean, it holds some importance, but just to me, I don't know what it is that World does differently that 3 doesn't, because it's been
Hmm.
so long. I can't even tell the like not tell the difference, but I can't. Yeah, to somewhat like they're both
There's
really
something
great games, but
special.
there's just something. Yeah, there's just that special feeling. Like my parents, man, turn on that SNES. They'll go out to dinner and like just forget us for a while. Like my brother was like 6 years older than me, so we were
Right.
fine. But they could turn on Star Wars, they could turn on Back to the Future, they turn on the SNES and we're hooked. And
Hmm.
nothing else is happening in this world. Like to me,
Oh yeah.
oh, possessed light from the devil. Keeps on flickering. Oh, it's the worst light ever. I got a new one. I got a new light. I still haven't
Hmm.
plugged it in and settled everything. I'm just kind of waiting for this light to die, and it's time. Anyway, nonetheless, yes, Super Nintendo was my console though. Like, did you play the first Legend of Zelda? Was it Link's Awakening, right?
Wait, Link's Awakening was on Game Boy,
Ooh, so
right?
sorry. Yeah, it's a gold
But no,
cartridge.
that's a good coming in point because Link's Awakening was the first Zelda that I understood. It was the first game
All
that
right.
I was old enough to realize, oh, this is a full-on story.
Mm,
And I remember putting it in when I was too young to, or at least too distracted to care about it.
yeah.
And then 3 years later, popping it back in and being like, whoa, this is a whole world. And Link's Awakening actually, uh, pardon the pun, it awoke me to bigger story games, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And to me, the reason why like I don't remember any Zelda game up until N64. That's why like when it comes to like Legend of Zelda games, like to me like they don't exist again until Ocarina comes. And like that was one game that me and my brother played constantly.
Hmm.
Constantly helping each other out, partnering up with. But like to me, Majora's Mask is my favorite. What Zelda game's yours? Is it Link's
It's Breath of the
Awakening?
Wild.
Oh, is it
No,
still Breath of the
it's
Wild?
Breath of the Wild. Yeah, and it was funny because I think about that franchise and
Mm,
it is the stories that come with Breath of the Wild because it's almost a non-existent story. You
yeah,
make your own story in Breath of the Wild.
yeah,
So when somebody tells me Breath of the Wild is not their favorite Zelda or whatnot, I'm totally okay with it because it's a matter of what did you experience? What was your mindset when you went into it? And like, I made my story with Link. He was
mhm,
he's such a bland character, and so
right,
is Zelda that you project yourself into it and you create your own story, and that's what I got to do with Breath of the Wild. Whereas, um, some of the other ones they're a
yeah.
bit more structured.
To me, I think they're not bland, but they're empty in a way that they're a vessel for you, right?
Yeah.
So like Breath of the Wild, great game. Not gonna argue that it's not. It's not my favorite one though. I think
Okay.
Majora's Mask is mine just because of how when I was a kid. Again, that's the first Legend of Zelda game, and one of the first games I beat without anyone's help. Like I was
Mm.
fixated over. Like I first time I was talking to Jams. I talked about I would doodle the swords and shields in my notebook at school. Like that's what
Mhm.
I would do as a kid. I would just doodle those little swords and like what I would want in the next Zelda game type of thing. And Breath of the Wild, great game, but there's like to me, like as time goes by, I like I guess the affinity for it starts to fade a little bit. Like
Mhm.
I talk about why Horizon Zero Dawn is my game of the year last year, and I
Really?
think yeah and I before coming on the show I listened to you and Sean's podcast where you like can't get into it 3 hours in. I was the same exact way. Like three or
Mhm.
4 hours in Horizon, the first playthrough, I couldn't get into it. Thought it was a little
Yeah.
slow at first, and then Zelda came out, and then I just completely like dropped it. But after
Mhm.
E3, I was like, I need to turn on my PlayStation. I really need to. And Horizon is the game that, again, just like after like 3 hours, once you really start like getting the hang of the combat, because it's not something you just pick up,
Mhm.
the game takes off. It's like so for me, I feel something with Aloy. I see her character and her story and the story in the universe that they're like building at the same exact time is fucking awesome. And so like to me, I'm like, this is a great game. Not as good as Breath of the Wild, but like as time started to fade, I was like, man, I would love to jump back into Horizon. And I'm not feeling
Yeah.
the same for Legend of Zelda at all. You know, you see, your dog agrees. He's just like, I
That's
agree.
that's my dog. There's something going on outside the house,
Don't
and
even worry about
I vehemently hear my girlfriend being like, "Oh my gosh, Shelby, stop! Shh, shh." It's so cute. Oh
Oh,
man.
my dog's the same exact way, dude. That's why, like, sometimes, like, I forgot to tell you, my dog's gonna talk during this podcast eventually. He's a nice guy. He might not sound it, but he just gets protected. Anyway, nonetheless, so, like, to me, like, I don't know, there's something about Horizon's world that, like, once I was done with Breath of the Wild, I was like, okay, I beat this twice. It's not like I didn't
Mhm.
enjoy my time. First time it was me exploring it, but then like the second time around, I was just like, I'm actually not gonna go for the sword and shield and all that jazz. I'm actually just gonna see if I could beat him with like 13 like hearts or whatever.
Mhm.
And I did. To me, there's something about the challenge aspect that just wasn't there for me with Breath of the
Mhm.
Wild. Yeah, I do miss dungeons. I really hated the Guardians. I
Yeah.
loathe them. I think if they just replaced that with the things that I remember a Zelda game being, then I would have that would have been my game of the year. But there's just something about
It's
those bosses. They felt samey to me.
it's all right. So I have to. It's so cool to hear you say that stuff
Yeah.
because for the exact reciprocal reasons,
Mm.
I didn't like Horizon,
Horizon.
and I did like Breath of the Wild
Oh, that's
because
cool.
my least favorite part of Zelda was the dungeons. And
Ah,
so the shrines were short enough to where my
yeah.
attention span didn't waver,
Right.
and I could leave it and come back because uh, I just the type of person that I am. Sometimes, when you get bored with something, you leave it for a bit, maybe
Yeah.
you come back to it. But when you come back, if it's something super intricate, then you forget where you are. That's why like Witcher 3 stands out as one of the best games I've ever played in my life. Same
I've
with Metal Gear Solid 5, but I
yeah.
can't go back to those because I have no idea where I am. I beat them, but to do the extra stuff, I would be at a loss. I don't remember what does what,
Yeah.
where my character was, what my story meant, and
Now,
sometimes the intricacy keeps you from going back in.
that's true. That's very true. Now, Witcher 3, I'm about halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
I took a bit of a stop. I need to go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
That world, though, to me, I was trying to make a video and I couldn't bring it to words. That
Mm-hmm.
world, if you had to bring them up, right? Breath of the Wild versus Witcher 3 in terms of the world, which one do
Mm-hmm.
you like more? Like to me, I'm looking at The Witcher and I'm just like, holy shit. This game holds up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It has it has that groundedness, and at the same time, it's not that constant gray and brown we see all the time.
Right.
The lands are worn and torn, but they're colorful and they're beautiful at the same exact time.
Right.
As they are horrifying and at times chaotic and
It's
dreary.
got that
And
Gears of War beautiful destruction
yeah,
aspect.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, oh, are we gonna bond over Gears of War, Luke?
Oh, we will. We
Oh,
will.
thank
We
God.
will. But no, when you think to compare the two is a bit. This might sound like a cheat, so you can hold me to
No,
change my
no, no,
answer if you need
yeah,
me to. If I'm thinking about world building, Witcher 3 is bar none better than Breath of the Wild. But if I'm thinking about me creating a world, it's Breath of the Wild
yeah.
because of that projecting yourself into the character. When I play Witcher 3, I am Geralt. When I play Breath of the Wild, I'm Luke if I were Link, if that makes sense,
No, yeah,
right?
that's yeah, and to me, when I'm playing as Geralt, I love his character because to me, I was like, you know what? I don't know if you watch Rick and Morty, but I'm like, he's definitely Rick in the
Is he?
sense of he's very much disconnected, and he just because he lacks emotions, he just really doesn't give a shit. He really
Yeah.
doesn't give a shit about your feelings, and he'll be like, just cut to the chase. He has this Rick like attitude about him, where it's not
Mm-hmm.
like fuck the world or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really like I don't care about you, I don't care what's going on. I'm just about getting to point A to point B, and you need to
Right.
point me there. I'll do whatever you need to do, but I'm not happy, sad, or I'm indifferent about it. And
My,
Geralt is to me such a great character. Oh my
my
god, I
favorite
love him.
quote the best quote that he says that's so indicative of him is when somebody asks about his swords. He's like, "So one of those is for people, the other's for monsters," and he goes, "Well, they're both for monsters." And I'm like, "Oh,
That's
all
such a
right, sir.
badass line.
Yeah, all right, you win,
Yeah,
you win." That
yeah,
was good.
yeah. Seriously this generation. To me, I feel like there's these staple games with such great characters to them. When I'm thinking of great characters this generation, I'm thinking of Geralt, I'm thinking of Aloy. You know,
Mhm.
oh my god, they're just so great. So with that, I want to backtrack a little bit. Uh,
Okay.
both love The Witcher. Let me ask you a question. Xbox or PlayStation when it came to The Witcher?
When it was Witcher, I
Yeah,
was on PS4. I was on
PS4.
PS4.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's It stinks because now it's enhanced, but like there's no way I can go back and put another 150 hours. Like it just is not happening.
I'm playing it on Xbox One X, and with it enhanced, I'm like, wow,
Hmm.
this is impressive. This thing,
Yeah.
like that, to me, the one thing that's sad about the Xbox One X is there's no new game that goes, whoa, like, whoa. To me, it's
Right.
like all these really like old games, like older
Yeah.
titles. And I'm like, huh, impressive. But I would like to
Yeah.
see what a game this year looks like. And with that, I want to know how you because you're very much of a coexist when it comes to Xbox and PlayStation. So
Yeah.
when is it the turn you have this Nintendo? What comes next after, like, I guess the N64 or SNES? What comes next to you? Is it PlayStation or is it Xbox
Um.
or PC?
So wait. Are you asking like post SNES? Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
post
Post
SNES.
SNES.
Yeah, the
Okay.
post SNES world.
So my family was, we did not have money for games.
Yeah,
So I was a little bit behind everybody. But by the time that I was able to save up and convince my parents that video games don't cause violence and all that other stuff, by the time I was able to convince my parents it was time to buy a real system, I say real, but like, real to a 10, 12-year-old.
yeah,
Um, we, all my friends were into N64, and we went to Target to buy a Nintendo 64, and we got there. And the guy convinced the salesman at Target, this was probably just a kid,
yeah.
but he convinced us to get a PlayStation because it was cheaper, it had cheaper games. There were
Right.
CD-ROMs at the time. And so we got a PlayStation, and I was nervous, but then I popped in Rebel Assault 2 because I wanted a Star Wars game, and we also got World Cup '98, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
And it became PlayStation for a long time
Oh
because
wow.
I'm a big Star Wars guy, so that was fun. I went from Super Nintendo to PlayStation, and that was this amazing leap because then I became the cool kid. I was the one with the PlayStation,
I
and I
see.
kind of got my group into it. And yeah, it was
Right.
neat. And then once Metal Gear Solid came, it was just like, whoa, this is a whole new world.
I got a question for you. When it comes to PS1, you're a Star Wars fan. I'm a Star Wars fan. I will say you're
Okay.
probably a bigger Star Wars fan than me. I haven't read many of the books, so my question to you, as a Star Wars fan to another, did you try, what is it called, Gubarashi Arena, the fighting
The
game? Or
Master of
Terror?
Terrascasi?
Yeah, Terror. Yeah. I always say the wrong words. So sorry. Yeah.
Dude, I love that game. It's so
Thank
bad.
God. It is so bad,
It's so bad.
but it's so
There's
good.
they have a Tusken Raider named Whore in there. Like, who decided that was okay? But man, when you played as Return of the Jedi Luke versus Vader on Hoth, it
Yeah.
was just, my
Yeah.
mind was just, oh, best game ever. And
Yeah,
it was,
because so many people trash on that game, and like we understand it's not good, but like
no.
that's the closest thing to an actual lightsaber fight we get until like Jedi Academy.
Jedi Academy and Jedi Outcast and
Yeah.
Jedi. No, it was Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy, and I'm thinking of Power Battles. Remember Power Battles?
Thank God that is the one game I skipped. Oh wait, or did I? Wait, is that the Diablo-esque one?
Yes.
Oh wait, no, I did not. Yeah, I was God, Cthulhu, what's the guy Cthulhu, the guy with the breathing apparatus on him? He had a yellow light.
Plo Koon.
Plo Koon, there you go. Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember those days. What an
Man, that
awful
was
game.
that weird Dreamcast, Super Nintendo. No, sorry, Dreamcast, PlayStation, N64. Where is Dreamcast in this? Is it PlayStation 1 or is it PlayStation 2?
Yeah.
Because Dreamcast was in that weird mid tier.
And it's so weird. Talk about like the Dreamcast rip. I wanted one as a kid. I thought the controller was so cool. The memory card thing was so rad. And it's so weird how like that console, yeah, mid-generation jump doesn't work, but we see with like the Nintendo Switch at the moment seems to be working out pretty well. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get the PlayStation 1. You're enjoying yourself. Where does then the Xbox go to? Like where does that come in?
Xbox was non-existent. Because
Okay.
remember, Xbox was PlayStation 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I went from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2. You know, I did the thing that we all look back on and regret, where we sold all our games
Yeah.
and upgraded. Extreme G3, I think, was what I was playing on it. I
I
loved my
remember that.
PS2, man. That I was only PS2 until I got to college, and then everything was cheaper. So I had a GameCube and a PS2, and then I'm in the dorms. We would play on somebody else's Xbox sometimes. And then we would
Halo
just
2,
rotate
I
through.
assume.
Yeah, we would do some of that, but I did not like Halo until Halo Reach, and then the whole world changed.
Ooh,
Uh,
that's so interesting. Halo's my series. Like that's the thing that gets me to be an Xbox gamer. Halo 1, Halo
hmm
2. I've put hundreds of hours in Halo 2, no
Yeah.
doubt. Halo 3, great game. It has its fans, not my favorite. Reach is my favorite Halo though. To me, I feel like
Yes.
and like to me everybody overlooks it, but it was a good game, man. Like
Oh
it
man, it was so cool. You customize your own in-game avatar. You go to space and you fly in an
mm,
X-wing. I mean, whatever the Halo equivalent is. You know what I mean? Like that game was awesome, awesome.
dude, amazing. Like I love that. I mean, I have special fondness with Halo 2 as well. I don't want to like totally shit on Halo 2, great game, but like Halo Reach was just something awesome. And like the Forge modes, man, the hundreds of
Yeah.
hours just putting into Forge modes. Oh my
hmm
god, like that was amazing. I remember Halo 2, we played this game called like Pirates. This is how we work as kids. There's this
hmm
one map where there's these two huge like tank looking things. They look like the things on Tatooine, right? There's two
hmm
mammoth beasts of machinery chasing each other. And we would be like we're pirates trying to like jump on the other person's ship.
Nice. That's awesome.
Oh man, it was so much fun. So what?
Everything
Yeah,
pre-achievements, everything pre-achievement system, you made your own achievements.
yeah.
You know?
What is your feeling on achievements? Are they more kind of like harmful, beneficial? Are you indifferent? Where do you fall on that?
It so like so many things with gaming, it depends on your mood at the time.
Yeah,
I think achievements absolutely are fantastic. I think they're great for gaming because uh, they give the developers room to play. Right? I do think that when they're unfair, it's silly. I don't like that.
yeah,
But when you have X amount, I would say if you get at least half the gamer score or half the trophies from a game for beating it and beating it well, that's good. And then if you have a few that are in there and the developers want you to try something or be silly, that's cool too. I
yeah,
do not enjoy when they are, you know, uh, just astronomically difficult. That to me removes some of the fun.
yeah. If I have to play the game 4 or 5 times, this game isn't fun. This has now become a
Right,
chore. And
right.
I
That's the right
mean,
word for it, chore. Because if you're having fun, it's okay.
yeah,
But the moment that it becomes a chore to do something,
ugh,
and it hasn't changed the way, because they can adjust the way you approach a game, and
mhm,
that has value. But
yeah,
if they aren't teaching you to use a new weapon, or they're not letting you enjoy a different aspect than you would normally, and it becomes work, that's when it's less enticing. And I've got a lot of trophies, a lot of achievements. I enjoy hunting for them most of the time,
hmm,
but also sometimes when I pick up my Switch, I enjoy that no one can see if I'm good or bad at a game.
yeah. And that's one thing to me. Like I have the list of shame when it comes to PlayStation. Again, one thing Shu needs to do is if I have zero achievements, can you not? Can you not?
Yeah,
I have
you can
so many
hide them. I
games.
think. Can't you hide them now?
I
I
hope.
thought I
I
know
don't
on
know. I
Xbox.
need to check
I'm
it out.
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that I've hidden some on PlayStation, but I don't remember specifically.
Yeah, because it got this
But
list of
it's
shame of like I have zero achievements in Mag. You know, like
yeah.
it's I went through this phase when I used to work at GameStop and
hmm Yeah, me too.
we got our horror stories and
Yeah,
you know you get to take a game out if it's used, sometimes if it's
right.
new, and you you know you just try it out for a couple of days. So I have so many games that I tried out, I put it in for 15 minutes. I have this thing, if it doesn't catch me in 15-30 minutes, I'm done
Right.
with it. And that's what happens. So I have this huge list. So to me, I'm just like, there has to be a balance. First off, I think like things like platinum. I love the platinum trophies. I go back and forth with them, but to me, I love the platinum because it really is the ultimate achievement.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same exact time, and I'm not saying it should be easier, but devs really sometimes view it as like like an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like when it comes to Bloodborne, I love Bloodborne so
Mm-hmm.
much. It's my game of the generation. I love it so much. But the one thing I don't like about Bloodborne is its achievement list, because I don't want to play a game a certain way. If I'm playing a game, it should be the way I like it, like how
Right.
I want to play it. And like
Mm-hmm.
there's certain things you have to do in Bloodborne in order to get a certain ending. And if that's the
Mm-hmm.
way you want it, fine, sure, but it shouldn't be that shouldn't be part of the achievement list to me. Like I love
Mm-hmm.
how in Celeste you could get all the achievements, the platinum. It's all super easy because you get to play it the way you want it. And so like
Right.
if you're trying to get the achievements, yeah, you could cheese it and you could go through the assists and make it so that you get all the strawberries in a level or whatnot. But like it's all about the way you want to play. And that's the one
Mm-hmm.
thing, like a lot of people are like, yeah, Nintendo needs achievements, and I'm like, I don't think so. I don't.
Right.
That's the one beauty, is like I could take a break, you know.
I th- I think Sony and Microsoft have both dropped the ball when it comes to curating
Yeah,
their achievement and trophy systems properly. Because what is a platinum? A platinum has been diluted by games that either don't have any trophies from early PS3,
yep.
or that give you a platinum super easy. You go on, you spend 10 minutes, and you can get it.
You tap
And
a
I think
mayo jar 1,000 times.
exactly, and you can do it twice if you've got a Vita and stuff. And so that's a problem because it's diluted the value. Your platinum in Bloodborne would mean something very different if you couldn't go get a platinum from another game.
Yep.
Telltale, I love that I get 1,000 achievements or a platinum when I finish Telltale. I feel like I've earned that, but it's very different than me going and getting 1,000 from beating Halo 4 on Lone Wolf by myself on Legendary. It's a very different experience.
Yeah.
And then when you look at games that just pump out achievement after achievement, and then you look at what does it mean to get a trophy in PlayStation versus X amount of gamer score. Those two curated systems, they don't match up well, and so it's tough to say. Like, it means something to say I platinumed a game.
Yeah.
Well, do I say I 1,000 gamer scored this game, but now games have 1,500 or 3,000?
Yeah.
So those achievements are truly fictional, and we knew that they were fictional, but they are beyond fictional. Like when you look at my gamer score, it's very, very high.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that? That only means something to me because I like to look at my achievements, and then when I look at them, I feel memories.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And to me, like, to dictate, like, it to me, if a game's really good, I'm gonna try to platinum it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's my whole thing. So like, if I got like 30% in a Naughty Dog game, you know that I beat it, and you know I enjoyed it, you know I completed the story. If I got 60% in a Naughty Dog game, you know I must have really liked it. You know,
Yep.
like to me, Naughty Dog, like I have beaten The Last of Us 4 or 5 times, and I'm like
Really?
at 40 or 50%. Like, yeah, that Last of Us. I remember the We the Nerdy convo you had with Sean, where it's just like, yeah, I beat it, but I never want to go back to it. I totally
Right.
understand that, because like I
Mm-hmm.
beat Red Dead Redemption once. I'm good. I never have to touch it ever again. So
Yeah.
like for me, like it doesn't mean like the story's bad. It's just like I had my fill. With The Last of Us, I just love that universe so much that I always want to go back to it. So
There's some games and some films the same way. There's a purity of memory,
yeah,
and when you go back to those worlds, you risk tainting or staining the memory that you have for it. Last of Us, I do not want to go back. I just don't. That was such a great experience, but crushed me. It's like when I watched Interstellar. I never want to see that movie again. But
I knew that movie
fantastic.
would defeat me, so I was just like, I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah, I don't need to cry again. Like I just don't.
Yeah.
And then with Red Dead, I got the Redeemer, like 100% it achievement and whatnot. I don't need to go back to that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hunted all the special things. I found Bigfoot. I did all that. I'm done. And like to go back would feel like work, or it would
Yeah.
feel less fun. If they remastered it, I don't know that I would go back. I maybe, but I certainly don't want to return to my original save because that's a beautiful timepiece and segment of my life that I don't need to reopen.
Oh yeah, definitely. When it comes to Red Dead, I feel the same exact way.
Hmm.
Which is strange because, like, to me, as much as like I love The Last of Us, I love
Hmm.
Red Dead. They're both my tied number one game of all time, and
Hmm.
like I'm excited for Last of Us 2. Don't get me wrong. I squealed like a girl when I saw the trailer for the first time at PSX, but
Hmm.
I'm not excited. I'm
Yeah, I
like,
get that.
because there is this. You can't top what you did with Last of Us 1. That
Hmm.
type of feeling. You can't top what you did with Red Dead 1. And you know, with that, like, there's something about Smash that, like, it's coming, but like, I'm excited for it, man. Like, I don't know. There's something about Nintendo this time around that's like it's hitting all the hype marks that it needs to. With that, so with that long rant aside, so Reach is the thing that gets you into the Xbox
Mm-mm.
ecosystem.
No, it was Gears. It was Gears 1. I was in college. I was
Mm-hmm.
bored. I
Mm-hmm.
had played my GameCube to death. I'd played my PlayStation 2 to death. There was nothing special grabbing me. And, the Xbox 360 had just come out in my freshman year. Maybe it was sophomore
Yeah.
of college. And I was like, oh, that looks like neat, I guess. I'll try it. I went and sold Plasma to pay for a 360.
Holy shit! So you're in it.
Yeah. Well, I was in college,
Yeah.
and
You're like, I
I
don't need this.
yeah, whatever. I'd have sold anything at that point. Um, uh, so I get it. I get a Wii at launch, like
Mhm.
first one in my whole city to get a Wii, which was really cool.
Wow, that's cool. That is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, and I got a 360, and Gears of War 1 on 360 was just it was incredible. And then
Worth the plasma.
oh, it was worth the plasma. And
Yeah.
then to be in a dorm environment where you could link up with people and go co-op and play, it was special. It's all about where you are in life,
Mm-hmm.
how you're going to feel about a game, and to enjoy the Wii in a dorm room, to play Mario Strikers in a dorm room, to play uh, Gears of War in a dorm room co-op with
Yeah.
your buddy next to you on the couch. It brought you into this world, and then what is it, 5 Gears games and novels and comics. I love that universe. I just replayed it with Chris Burdo.
Nice.
We just finished Gears 4 about an hour before I jumped on with you. We finished the
Worth it. How
campaign.
did you like 4? Because I really enjoyed it.
Love it.
Okay,
So
good.
I went on Sean Capri. I went on a journey with Gears of War 4.
Okay.
And I did it by myself, and it brought me nostalgia. But the achievements were very poor when you first started. It's been redone, like they've redone it
Yeah.
since Xbox One X came out, and all these new achievements. If anyone were to load it up, you'd probably bounce in a whole bunch of ones that you've already done that you didn't know you did, which is nice.
Yeah, that's
And
what happened to me.
yeah, they've cleaned it up. They've smoothed out any problems. The economy that exists within it is fantastic. Gears 4, in my opinion, highly underrated by the community. The game critically was a success. Commercially, I don't know because it's diluted because you bought it and then you got all 4 old games. But
Hmm.
then they did Gears Ultimate Edition, which I think retroactively in hindsight was a mistake to do because of the free masters that they do now with Xbox One X. So
Yeah.
Gears has this weird spot where no one's quite sure if it's commercially good or not, but I find it to be critically incredible, and I thoroughly enjoyed going back to it. I would recommend anyone go back to it.
Oh
They've
yeah.
got shortened horde modes where like it's 1 through 25, and it scales as if it was 1 to 50, so it's really fun.
Dude,
Um,
it's so much fun. Gears means so much to me, and that's to me, like, as much as I love Halo, I love the Master
mhm,
Chief, and I owe Bungie a lot.
mhm,
Well, not anymore. They ruined that in good faith a long time ago. But
mhm.
you're dead to me, Bungie. You're dead. No. Um, but it really is epic with Gears of War. That is when I think of Microsoft. Like,
Mhm.
God, I love it so much. Like, what is your favorite Gears in the series? Because mine is 1. I love 1. Like, 1
Ooh.
is sets the bar. the one thing that's great about the Ultimate collection or edition or whatever the case may be is that they're all dedicated servers. From what I'm
Mm-hmm.
aware of, I could be completely
Yeah.
wrong, but so like the shotgun was not.
Yeah, that host advantage is pretty serious.
You
Um,
knew who the host was in that fucking
oh
game.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you have a rocket launcher. It looks like a shotgun. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
pretty
Um,
much.
so are you asking about story or overall experience?
Overall experience. Overall experience.
Overall experience, it goes to 4, but that's again, you need time to process,
Yeah.
and I just played through it. But 4 had the best storytelling, the best mechanics, everything, and it makes sense. It's
Yeah.
the newest. It's on the
It
best
had
hardware.
it
So
had the best pacing, I think,
agreed.
in story wise. Like it might have not told the best story, but it was perfectly paced.
Hmm.
To me, that multiplayer is also really good. Like to me, my list goes 1 because of that fucking nostalgia, 4, 3, and 2.
Now, shame on you, Joseph Moran. Shame, shame, shame.
Why?
The
Why?
answer is 4,
Okay.
1,
Yeah.
3,
Okay.
Judgment, which is really good, and nobody seems to recognize it. And then 2 is at the bottom. But you got to remember, they're all fantastic. And we have a tendency to think that because it's not at the top of a list, it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
They're all really good, but Judgment is so often overlooked.
I'm gonna ignore that judgment statement. No, I'll be honest.
Have you gone back to it?
I never touched Judgment, and I'm gonna tell you
Oh,
why.
okay, all right.
I do not like that dev team. People Can Fly. Yeah, I like to call them People Can't Make a Game. A badada ding, bada boom. There you go. The reason
All right.
why I don't like Bulletstorm, I actually really hate Bulletstorm.
I totally get it. I get it. I went back to Bulletstorm. I got it real cheap on that remake. Thing sucks. All right.
And like to me, I'm just like that game again. They're talented people. I hate when I say that. I've been too blunt in the past. They're not my favorite in terms of like, yeah, Bulletstorm tarnished an experience that like I don't want to go back to because like as a guy who curses a lot, I actually don't like how much cursing that they do in that game.
Oh, it was just poorly written.
Yeah, and to the point where I'm just like, now you're just trying to be edgy. You know, like you're not trying to like, you know, like there's this balance to what you're doing, and like Deadpool does it perfectly, right? Like Deadpool is like I'm not taking myself serious, but there's some stakes. And with Bulletstorm, it was just like, man,
all right,
not great.
So
on
this isn't live, but recorded right here. If you go in and you play Judgment, and you don't like it, you send me a message and I'll buy you a month of Game Pass. Totally serious. Not messing with you. I want it very clear. It's $10, so it's not like it's the end of my world. But if you play Judgment and you don't like it, I'll buy you a month of Game Pass.
Okay.
And if you do like it, I will have the peace and happiness of knowing that you played a game that is way better than people give it credit for.
Okay. And because I was not a fan of 2 whatsoever, so like
I didn't like 2 very much either.
Yeah, when 2 came out, I just went back to playing 1.
Really? Okay, so I played 2 all the time, but it was because that's where everybody was, not that I liked it more.
No, I think we tried it for a couple of months, and then we're like, back to Gears 1? Back to Gears 1. Yeah. With that said, so Gears of War is number 1. Let's take a second here, because you are, again, I heard this on We the Nerdy, so I need to go back to it.
Sure.
The importance of Spider-Man. I just watched Spider-Man Homecoming.
Good film.
I feel like you're a fan of Spider-Man. You're a fan of the series of comics.
Yeah.
Who's the best Spider-Man? Me and my brother were having this debate the other day. I need you to settle the score.
Are you talking about actor? Or character? Like, what are you asking?
Okay. So who to you, and because when we talk about Spider-Man, like in terms of movies like Maguire, Garfield, and Holland, that they're almost 3 different generations of people who enjoy it. So to me, who's the most Peter Parker, I guess, of the three to you?
The most Peter Parker
Yeah.
is Tom Holland.
Okay.
I think Tobey Maguire did something very special for superhero movies at a time where they were on the wane. You got to think Tim Burton's Batman and Christopher Reeve's Superman. Those set a bar for superhero movies, but then they declined with the Batman and Robin, Batman Forever, and then they were gone. Blade was so cool, but it didn't give superhero movies that superhero feel.
Right.
So Tobey Maguire reactivated that in us, and then we got X-Men, and you can like or dislike that. But Tobey Maguire does not age well. Like, you go back to it, does not age well.
No,
Spider-Man 2 is not what you would think.
And that's what so many people are like, Spider-Man 2 is the best. I'm like, really? He doesn't believe in himself, and that's why he loses his powers? Come on. Like, Doc Ock, great. He's fantastic, but come on. Like,
the movie is not good now.
Yeah. It is a product of its time. Because to me, like, a lot of the scenes, they got a lot of cringe to them now. They like one, a lot of people concede 1 does not age well, 3 we don't talk about, but 2 is the pinnacle. And I'm like, to me, Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Like, to me, I was at this point, like, where I haven't had a good Spider-Man in so long that Spider-Man's my hero, because he always does the right thing despite the consequences, and he is always he always has, like, he always gets this, like, thing of, like, okay, there's the golden opportunity, and then, like, here's the hard thing that I have to do, and because people need Spider-Man, and he always chooses the harder path. He always has that, like, self-sacrifice type of deal that I just love. To me,
I think. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
To me, though, I don't mind Garfield. I don't think he's bad.
I loved Garfield.
Yeah.
I thought all right, so I think Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2 are very good movies. They're fun to watch. Yeah. I think, and the reason I defend them, they are victims of Sony, not of bad writing. I don't think they're poorly written. I think they're well acted. Yes. I think the chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, and they were dating at the time, is fantastic. I thought the action looked really cool. The soundtracks were good. The problem is that Tom Holland's Spider-Man, in his character's age, is very young. Yeah. But the fact that he has this surrounding MCU, it enhances it, and it brings it to much more of the comic book that we get, because he can run into Tony Stark. He can get his butt kicked by Captain America, who went easy on him. You know, he can meet Doctor Strange, and you know what I mean. Like, you have that. Whereas in Amazing Spider-Man, they tried to build a universe around a world that did not need a universe.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you. So we agree, Tom Holland's the best Spider-Man.
Yes, but I want to make very clear that doesn't mean I'm knocking Garfield, who is, I think, fantastic in that role. Tom Holland's a kid, and you need a kid to play Spider-Man.
Yeah. I mean, in Garfield's defense, he looked like he was 30 in high school. You know, like it is weird. Same with Tobey Maguire. So with that, and I want to take one more step away from games for a moment. You're a huge Star Wars fan. I appreciate this a lot because I love Star Wars, and I need to talk about Star Wars with someone.
All right.
We collect the sabers here at my household. Like, we have, you know.
Nerd.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, I'm buying a authentic Kylo Ren saber. Like, I'm spending $500 on a saber.
Wow.
Like,
Mine was 20, and I love it, and I swing it around and I'm cool. Okay.
Like, we got the Luke. We have Luke / Anakin / Rey's whenever we want it. We have Luke's from Return of the Jedi. We have Darth Maul's. And when I say we, I say my brother, but I whatever. I count them as mine because I like to swing them around. We have a whole bunch. We have Vader's from Return of the Jedi, and we have it from Empire as well. Like, when I'm telling you, we collect them.
Nice.
We collect them. With that said, you're a huge Star Wars fan. What do you think about the prequels? And then what do you think about Last Jedi? So we'll hit prequels first.
All right, so we're on prequels.
Yeah.
Prequels were and are bad. They are bad. They are poorly directed.
Yep.
They wasted the talent of Portman, of Ewan McGregor.
Yep.
They wasted the talent of Hayden Christensen, pardon me, because he could have been a fantastic actor, but he was purposely told to hold back during scenes. Like I watched and read a number of things about it. They made Lucas wanted him to be a whiny baby, and that's very frustrating because his character, it demeaned his character. When you see his character in Rogue One, when you see his character in episodes 4, 5, and 6, the whininess takes away from the fear. And if he had let him go full evil, it would have been great. But they purposely made him pouty, and they just wasted Obi-Wan as well.
A lot of people don't realize a lot of that was one-shot takes. Like a lot of it was like, all right, good enough, and just done with.
Yeah.
So
and it's just a waste of talent.
Yeah, and so to me, the prequels are the ultimate low point, and the only good things that come out of them are the Clone Wars, the Clone Wars series. I love the Clone Wars series.
It's just frustrating because the lightsaber battles were very cool.
Yeah.
That Darth Maul was killed off. Their best character was killed off, or one of their best, I suppose.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan had inconsistent power. He was smacked around like a baby during 2, but then he can go toe-to-toe with Anakin in 3, and so they made it very deceptive. Yoda was misused, I feel. Of course, the special effects were just not there, and they taught it. But because of the prequels, we have The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Rogue One, and those are practical effect impressive.
Yeah. So. With that, I'm going to go step by step with Disney.
Okay.
What do you think of Force Awakens?
I think it's fantastic.
Okay.
And I think that you watch it the first time, it's super cool because everyone's like, oh, Star Wars is back, neat. But then you go back to the film, there's a lot more there that you got to give J.J. Abrams credit for. And man, did he hold back on the lens flares. So I'm proud of him.
I'm going to tell you this, and I get hate for it constantly about The Force Awakens. It's my favorite Star Wars movie.
Nothing wrong with that, dude. It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. And a lot of people are like, it's a New Hope clone. And I'm like, it's really not. It's such a, don't say dumb things in front of me. But I get it. There's elements. It's a soft reboot. They have to give you things that scream, this is a Star Wars movie. So to me, I love The Force Awakens. It really captures what makes Star Wars really special to me. Spoiler alert, Han Solo being my favorite character, him getting, shish kebabbed, right?
That was a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful scene. And if I could take over the conversation for two things. Force Awakens, it's overlooked by people like us, like people of our age, rather. That reactivated Star Wars enjoyment for a new generation.
Yes.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's so awesome to see little girls. I say this all the time. I saw a little black kid running around with Finn's jacket. I saw a little girl running around with Rey's saber. How does that not tug at you?
And I'm a middle school teacher, and so in the past few years, my female students have gotten Wonder Woman. They've gotten Rey. They've gotten my male students, my black male students, who are so often underserved in media. They've gotten Black Panther. They've gotten Finn, and so many more. And I could go on, but it is very nice to see an equality of role models come through for people that didn't get them. I mean, I grew up with Luke Skywalker and Superman and Green Lantern and Batman and so many white male heroes.
It's so cool to see. And to me, I'm like, when people have a problem with that, I'm like, why? Because to me, they're just people, right? I personally, I don't see the race or gender in any of them. I could see myself in Rey, but also I can't ignore the fact that I don't see myself in a lot of heroes because yeah, they don't look like me. Like I don't know where I said this, but like I got a couple of laughs where I thought the reason why I love Aladdin so much as a kid is because I thought they were in Puerto Rico, because everybody was tan like I am, like that. I said it on Best Friends Talk Funny. It's like they look like me, and so like I there was a girl in my class and she was getting choked up the fact that she's like, I never had. She's an African American woman. She's just like, she's like, Black Panther is amazing to me, because she's like, I don't have a lot of heroes to look up to. I'm not a comic book girl myself, but like my younger brother is, and like seeing him running around going like Wakanda forever is like something really special. So I love that.
And Blade was dark. And I say dark not in terms of color, but in terms of tone. And so you couldn't give kids Blade and say, hey, look at this. And it's frustrating. But I want to go back to the Han Solo scene if I could.
Yeah, of course.
That scene is so beautifully shot. If anybody cares to return to that, the beautiful red on one side representing evil and darkness, and then the blue light, the ray of light, like quite literally it's a ray of light where Rey is standing, a blue coming down, and you see their two sides, like there's the colors right down the middle, and it's very clear that this character in Kylo Ren wants to be evil but is good, and is pushing himself to be evil, and his dad sacrifices himself to help him achieve what he wants, and it's very unique, and they flipped the script very well. It's not cliched, and it's just beautifully shot. So I would hope anybody would go back to that.
What about Rogue One to you? Because we mentioned that Vader scene.
Vader was in there purely for us. He served no purpose in the story, except to be awesome and to make him cool again, because Vader was not cool. After the prequels, and like that's okay. We can acknowledge that, but Vader needed to be cool again. And it also helps because the entire crux of episodes 1 through 9 is the Skywalker family, and Vader is a part of that. And for him to be revered by Kylo Ren, we needed him to be cool again. So.
And I think that what they accomplished in a matter of seconds, redeeming that character. That hallway scene. When they said, and I bought into it, like, you're not going to see a lightsaber in this film. And I'm like, okay. And then, I'm ready for it. I'm ready to see Star Wars and be different, take risks. After so many people are like, it's the same thing. So, when that scene was ending and they're, like, boarded the ship, I was like, oh shit, look, Vader's there for the last time. And then when they're grabbing the disc and they're like, I'm like, oh, okay, this is how they give it to Leia. And then all of a sudden the door just stops. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then like that mist and like just seeing the lightsaber turn on, like my friend, my best friend Amy, she was right next to me. She was freaking out. Like I got chills right now thinking of it.
Yeah.
When he's banging on the door, it gives me that alien vibe. I'm like, help us. I'm like, there's no help for you, dude.
And I admire their restraint because they made him very lumbering, very tank-like. Yep. They made him very much the original trilogy Vader. None of the kind of gyroscopic lightsabers that you see in episodes 1 through 3.
Yep.
And they gave the lightsaber weight, which it doesn't need to have. They're meant to be weightless, but in episodes 4, 5, and 6, you could see them swinging as if they were swords. And so they kept that vibe versus the spinny gyroscopics of the first 3.
Which is why I love Kylo's sword so much and how he swings it, because you can like he's swinging it like it is a long sword, right? Like that's why I love it. Like he is swinging it like there is a lot of heft to it. So my
blade, the blade is imperfect, so it doesn't cauterize wounds. That's why you see embers fly off of people when he cuts them. Which I think is cool because it's a different type of blade, which I think is neat.
Yeah, and right then and there, I want to talk about just for 2 minutes The Last Jedi, because a lot of people they come off with it going, "This is the worst Star Wars ever." This
and they're wrong.
And I they ruined Star Wars. I'm like, you're wrong. Do you not
No.
remember the prequels? We had
Yeah,
like
those people haven't
6
seen
years of
1 and 2.
awful, you know,
Right.
like you may have not liked like my best friend. She didn't like Last Jedi. In the beginning, my first watch, I didn't like it. My second watch, I liked it. Third
Hmm.
watch, I loved it. So
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of things that get wrong, but there's like, dude, I think Ryan Johnson nails the Force. Like he
Hmm.
nails it perfectly. There are scenes. This is the first time. This is my fifth watching this movie. And when I mean watch, I mean like skipping to all the parts I like.
Sure.
Um, Seeing Yoda, I have cried every single time except once.
Hmm.
Because to me, again, I say this all the time. Yoda's my grandpa. Both same person. Cry all the time when I see him. But like, damn, that scene, Snoke scene, Luke scene, they're just like they hit you emotionally. And a
Hmm.
lot of people like the one problem with Rey is like she gets it already. And I think there's one scene where Luke kind of just or when Yoda says it, it's like, Rey already knows what she needs to know. The Force is awakened in there. And the one cool
Hmm.
thing about the Force is it's not a muscle you train. The
Right.
training about how to be a Jedi is about the knowledge of the Force, what it's meant to be. It's not it's not a muscle you use. It's how to use it, right? You're not training it like you're working out. You're training it of how to use it to balance.
I
And
enjoyed. There was a line that spoke to metaphysics for
yeah,
me, and it was when it was in Luke's second lesson for her, I believe, when he says something to the equivalent of, to think that if the Jedi die, the light dies is vanity.
yeah,
And that to me was beautiful because that whole movie is about how the Jedi and the Sith are dead and they need to go away. They are not important to the Force. They exist as representations of aspects, but if you know your Jedi and your Force lore, it's just a metaphysical conversation for what's right and wrong in our personal universes. And then when we
yes.
watch Star Wars, it's what we represent. I don't need to go to a particular church or praise a certain deity or believe in a certain set of political systems to be good.
Yep.
That's what I think the writers and Ryan Johnson are saying is that to think that you need to be identified as X or Y does not mean that good and bad are dead or alive because of it. You don't need the Sith in order to represent
Yeah.
evil or hellish things. You don't need to have the Jedi to represent some sort of light. They're just aspects to a much bigger world that the truth is no one truly knows or understands. People say that Ryan Johnson ruined the Force. No, many of those things were in the extended universes,
Yep.
and even though they nullified parts of that, you can go into the Jedi Code and see that you can project yourself into other people and you can connect with
I
one another.
I love that one Twitter thing where like one
Yeah, that was
person
great. He
he
goes,
just literally
you.
pulls up the book. He's like projection powers, you idiot. And also it's like to me a lot of the people that complain, I'm like, you don't watch Rebels, right? Because Yoda did that to Ezra. Like he
Mhm.
projected his son. Let me tell you, it was a doofy looking Yoda, but like nonetheless, he projected himself to Ezra. These things happen, and the one
Mhm.
thing that I really love is that it is the expansion of the Force and what the
Right.
Force is, and like again, like seeing more different powers, like seeing like that Force push that's also like lightning, badass. Seeing
Yeah.
Luke, yeah, he's a star system away, but he's there,
Hmm.
awesome, badass.
I
Seeing
the
Yoda
only
being able as a Force ghost manipulate the world around him, set the tree on fire, bonk Luke on the head. Those little things is like that's what I want to see. I want to see
Mhm.
Star Wars take risks because if all we're
Mhm.
doing at the end of the day is finding a bigger Death Star, what are we doing here? And trying to
What's
find someone who is Luke and trying to find someone who's Vader, what are we doing here?
Yeah, then you get into a Link and Zelda problem and it becomes recycled. But
Yeah.
I think too often when people complain about things, they sound as though they're lamenting it and creating sides and polar arguments with it. I think it's okay to criticize the Holdo maneuver. That's
Yeah.
okay. You can criticize it, but you need to also recognize that you're watching a film.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I wish they had done retroactively, and I truly wish this, is I wish that they had killed Leia and let her sacrifice herself rather than Laura Dern's character. And I would not have been offended if they went back and reshot a scene or two to fix it, because with Carrie Fisher's passing
Yeah.
and Laura Dern's immense acting ability, you could have at least continued this new generation of rebellion.
And not just that, or maybe even to some extent go, listen, we had more scenes with Leia. Laura Dern is here. She's kind of filling in. You know what I mean? Like, kind
Yeah.
of telling them, like, this is why Hodor, I call her Hodor, I'm so sorry, but she holds the door for the resistance. I can't. And
That's so great.
so, like, to me, like, that could, like, help explain to the fans why she is there and what she's doing. And that would
Right.
make it a little bit better. But, like, for people to be upset that Admiral Akbar is dead, I'm like, dude, he's a meme.
He was in like 6 seconds. Yeah, he
Okay,
was in
it's
6
a
seconds.
trap. Like, come on. Like nobody's crying that Radis is dead, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're both awesome fish people, but like, yeah, like to me, you could criticize it. Last Jedi is nowhere near my favorite Star Wars. It has flaws. Canto Bite, yeesh. But like,
Yeah, that whole scene can go away.
Yeah.
It's a shame because that movie, it is incredible. I think it's a great movie. I really do. I really do. But we did not need Finn or Poe in that movie. We didn't need Rose at all. She
Not
was
even
it's a shame because I feel like they, in some senses, cast people to fulfill certain demographics, which I don't like. I wish that they would just choose the direction and go. But also, you don't need to have somebody specifically to try and appeal to X market. That's like they did that with Avengers. They put a whole scene in Asia where they didn't need to do it. Then they did that so that they could say they did, and that's a frustration.
Yeah. But if you're gonna do it, you gotta make them with purpose, which like Guardians 2 with Mantis, right? I mean, you know, Asian actress, she's fucking awesome in that movie. You know, like
Yeah. Absolutely.
and even with
the character of Rose she's a good actress.
Yeah.
She was just, I feel, misused, or at the very least, I don't want to say underused. I think she was overused. That Canto Bright didn't need to happen. It just didn't.
The one thing to me that irks me about Canto Bite is it's trying to go after, what's that book? I can't remember it now. Why can't I remember it? Leonardo DiCaprio with a gift like this. What up? God, what's that?
Romeo and Juliet?
No, it just happened.
Because they did sort of do the whole sacrificial.
That 20s 30 vibe, right? That Canto
Great
Bite
Gatsby.
is. Yeah, Great Gatsby. There you go. That Great Gatsby vibe needed to just go. Because the one thing that makes Star Wars so great is it's the 40s through 70s vibe that they get. Like it's a branching theme, but like, you know, like a lot of things that they use are like World War II props or any, you know, like Korean War props. Like they use all these older tech, and it brings for this awesome aesthetic. And I think by adding this 20s 30 vibe, which is to me a lot different than what Star Wars is known for, I give them credit for trying. Cool, but to me it was just like it seemed out of place. And I'm like,
Star Wars was built on tropes, you know, Nazi, evil, that kind of tech, heavy weaponry. Bigger weaponry meant it was more destructive. And they never showed the warmongering, profiteering sides of it. But Last Jedi did a good job of kind of getting rid of clear-cut boundaries. There's no Jedi and no Sith anymore.
Yeah.
There's no good and bad. There is no clear-cut, this group is bad anymore, because they really knocked out a lot of their heavy hitters. And when you look at the tech, it's still modeled after post-Nazi plans. Like if they were to have won, they would have built this or that, similar to the way Wolfenstein 2 does it. And it's funny because Gears, when they designed Gears of War, they designed it to be very Vietnam-esque military stuff, the heavy metals and the choppers and whatnot. And you can see that in Last Jedi specifically, they did have a lot of those heavier weapons, but they also wanted to tell that different scene, and they did tap into this 1920s profiteering, people that are making a ton of money whilst others are suffering the Great Depression. I thought it was really, really, really neat, but not necessary for the film.
That's exactly how I feel. Like, good try, but then like also like going like with the X-wing like things like, look, they're making money off both sides. I'm like, no, like the way like
I get
the
it.
yeah like
I get what you're saying. That doesn't need to be told in this. This is a Skywalker story.
yeah,
Tell that in one of the anthology films.
exactly.
You know.
Please, for the love of God. So moving past Star Wars, I could make a podcast to talk about thoughts of Star Wars.
I'll join you.
Oh please. Uh, I love again. I love it to death, but I want to get back to video games for just a brief moment here.
Sure.
This generation, there's let's be honest with each other. PlayStation's been top dog, and I feel like there has been a person that is makes a PlayStation podcast, a trophy room you should check out every Tuesday. There is a bias towards PlayStation. It's plain as day, and I don't think it's intentional, but because I just think the way Microsoft executed this generation was that poor that people just got their PlayStations and kind of that kind of just stuck. So we've seen a lot in this generation. Two stories constantly getting brought up: backwards compatibility, crossplay, and I think both of those things are really important. And when in terms of backwards compatibility, personally, when I have the new thing, that's what I'm playing, right? Like,
sure,
9 times out of 10, I rather remaster or whatever than going back to those games, because like the way like PlayStation did with Shadow of the Colossus is perfect. We're going to fix the controls because in 2016 or 2018, oh boy, it just doesn't work anymore. I like that. But the reason why I think backwards compatibility is so important is it lends itself to the preservation of video games as an art form. So to me, I want to know first, what are your thoughts on Xbox this generation, on Microsoft with backwards compatibility, and what is it the importance it is for you as a gamer?
All right. To give context, I was PS4 at launch. Stand by it. Love it. I played my PS4 nonstop. I bought one of the VCR Xbox Ones 2 years after it released. And then when the S came out, upgraded.
Okay.
And when Phil Spencer's vision began to be executed, is when I started to make my change, because I was all PlayStation. My friends went Xbox, and I was like, no, I'm going where they're going to treat gamers the best.
Yeah.
And I stand by that. One of the most frustrating things, I think, with the internet and even our communities is that we get pigeonholed, because I'm currently I'm a very big supporter of Xbox right now, but I'm there because they support me. I think people think I hate or dislike another system. Well, that's silly. I own all three and I play all three.
Yeah.
But
if anything, you have the right to be critical because you own all three. You have a monetary stake in these consoles.
Absolutely, and I think that it's very frustrating because backwards compatibility was a clear olive branch and an apology at first. It was saying, hey, we're sorry that we messed up and botched our vision. We're back on track. And I truly think they are. Now, make no mistake, they're back on track because they got hit financially. And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. They are a business. But backward compatibility, to me, signified a shift in the industry. And while people rightfully recognize sales numbers, because PS4 is outselling by a huge margin, I think it's almost 3-1 now, the number of concurrent users on Xbox is very high, and they're outpacing their 360 numbers year to date, vice versa. To when 360 launched to this point in its life cycle, they're outpacing that. So they're doing quite well, Xbox is, as is Nintendo. Thankfully, we need a healthy Nintendo, and PlayStation as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. We should be very happy that all three are doing well, because as they compete with one another, backward compatibility was the first return fire by Xbox after Sony just trounced them in the opening salvo of this generation. So that return fire paved a way to a number of things. EA Access was a huge boon. After the Xbox One X, backward compatibility, EA Access, those paved the way towards Game Pass and Xbox One X.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that as a gamer, I thoroughly appreciate and benefit from them wanting to appease gamers, because I do now have an Xbox One X, I have a 4K TV. I don't have a kidney anymore because I sold it to get those things.
Even the body parts, you're like, I don't need them.
Yeah, whatever. The vestigial.
Got another one.
But I now benefit from those free masters, those Xbox One X enhanced games, and the Xbox One X enhancing games that even don't have the full 4K package. They make games look better, that are backward compatible. They're doing that for free. They're not charging me for those free masters. Gears of War Ultimate Edition is likely the last of those Xbox branded games for a little while that are remastered. I don't expect we'll see a remaster out of them for their first parties anyway for a little while.
Yeah.
Because they're doing free masters, and that's a really cool thing. I think
it is.
In the bigger scope of things, they've done an excellent job rekindling appreciation for their brand. When Don Matrick and co. absolutely put their heel into it and just ground it into dust. So I applaud them, and it makes us we benefit. Make no mistake, Nintendo, PlayStation, Microsoft's Xbox division, those are all three in competition in a great way, mind share financially, and it's awesome to see them compete. I'm sorry, I talked a lot.
No, that's perfect. You trust me, I'd be like, shut up. No, I think you nailed it on the head, man. Like, to me, like the mission with the trophy room is creating a podcast that's PlayStation centric, because I love PlayStation, but also being critical of PlayStation, and also making it so that, like, you're an Xbox guy, but you could come in and you can come in and go, okay, I'm enjoying myself. Not my system, but I, like, all my jokes are so sarcastic in nature when I'm like, oh yeah, the Nintendo, who doesn't want to, whatever. Like, when I make those jokes, it's purely to poke fun at the stupidness of, like, being a fanboy, like being this, like, no, this is the best thing, and I'll fight for this company until the day I die. I'm not hired by them. They don't pay me anything. And sometimes they do really shit things, but I'll defend whatever action that they do, because this is the thing that I have feelings for.
I don't understand that mentality. My most excited game this year thus far, before E3, because I know Microsoft has a lot planned, as does Nintendo, but I'm most excited for SpiderMan.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to turn my PlayStation on to play that. Now, I don't like that I have to be told what system to play games on, but that's okay that they're doing that. That's okay. But I do not like when YouTubers or personalities, or in general just people in our community or in the larger gaming community, when they will go to bat for things that are not good for consumers. That bothers me, because I am not an Xbox guy. I am not a PlayStation guy. I'm not a Nintendo guy. I'm a gamer, and I play games. And the system I play it on, if I have the financial viability, I buy them all. But if I'm in tight times, which I've been in plenty of times in my life, nope. Like, when people were like, should I get an Xbox? I'm like, do you have the money to get Game Pass? Because yes, you should get an Xbox. There's more value to dollar there than anywhere else. But if you want to play the latest and greatest, you should either wait for E3, or you should have a PlayStation right now.
Yeah.
But I would recommend Xbox to anybody because of the EAccess, Game Pass, and the availability of value to dollar products right now. Yeah. That could change in 2 weeks, and there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that and changing your mind.
And that's I always try to be that, like, a straight shooter, and for the most part. And there are definitely times where, like, I falter and I'm not the best person I want to be in that moment, I guess. And there are, like, times, like, I remember being on my Xbox and me at the time, and, like, someone asking me, this is, like, right after Halo Wars, going, should I buy an Xbox One? And I'm like, no. I'm on an Xbox podcast, you think. But I'm just
Halo Wars 2, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, that is my comfort food game, but it's not for everybody.
No, it's not.
Like, I play that all the time, but that's not for everybody. And for me to go, if I were to go and try to convince our community that it's a must-play game, that'd be foolish because then that would ultimately hurt our brand
Yeah.
or hurt, I say our, but like hurt Xbox because I'm telling everybody to go play this great game that's not for everyone. And
Yeah.
that's not healthy for its brand and its purpose
And
because I,
so when people go to me like more casual audience of like what system should I pick? I'm just like when people are like PlayStation 4 Pro or the Xbox One X, and I'm just like, okay, so like, what do you want to do with the system? That's the first and foremost thing. It's like, what are you interested in, and are you interested in these exclusives or those exclusives? What controller do you like to feel in the palm of your hand? Are you
mm-hmm,
do you need the best 4K visuals possible? Like, what are you as a gamer? Because it skews. Because like there's two videos that they have two unpopular opinions. One of them is better because it's more Sony lenient, and one not so much because they talk bad about Labo. But to me, I did a PlayStation 4 versus Xbox One X, and I was just like, at the end of the day, both consoles do exactly what they need to do. Like
mm-hmm.
PlayStation 4 Pro, great console. It's the one I've played the most. And if I were to tell you like playing Assassin's Creed, I played Assassin's Creed Origins on the X and the Pro, and I was just like, they both look great. It's
Mm-hmm.
the X looks better, but it's not like, whoa. It's like, oh yeah, this
Mm-hmm.
looks noticeably better. So I'm just like, if you're into Gears, Halo, Forza, if you're into what Phil Spencer's selling you right now, if you see Sea of Thieves, you go, whoa, that's interesting. Get an
Mm-hmm.
Xbox. But like you look at Horizon Zero Dawn, you look at Spider-Man, you look at I always say you need at least 3 games, right? Three
Mm-hmm.
games that are either out or going to be out relatively soon that are
Mm-hmm.
fixed, and then hop on that system. And so if you have those 3 games, get the PlayStation then. And like to me, it's not about like, oh, whose side am I currently on?
Right.
It's about like just picking the system that speaks to you at that moment. Like
Right.
last year, like again, I made the PlayStation podcast because of Horizon Zero Dawn, but I would lie to you if I said I played the PlayStation 4 the most. I only put last year, real talk, I only put like 100-ish hours into my PlayStation 4. I
Really.
put hundreds of hours on my Switch. The Switch was the console I was turning on
Oh
constantly.
yeah.
It was
We had
actually,
Zelda. We were playing Splatoon with the
oh,
community.
oh
We
God.
had Mario Kart,
It,
and Odyssey for a lot of people was one of their favorite Marios.
mhm.
And so that's okay. You had fun on a system.
Yeah, and that's all that matters. And I like
Yeah.
we get caught up in like it really doesn't matter. It's because my whole stance is each company is out to eventually fuck you over, and so you have to look out for yourself as the consumer, and you need to
Mm-hmm.
speak out for what is best for you. Because
Mm-hmm.
they're like PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. They're not looking out for your interests. They're looking out for theirs.
Right.
So let's stop pretending and let's and fighting for them. And what about what's better for you? Like,
Right.
and then pick. So like, I love Game Pass. I think
Yeah.
PlayStation needs to do it. Crossplay. Crossplay isn't the most urgent thing that everybody like says it is. It's really nice, and I think it is the future. And I think eventually Sony will bend the knee. But I'm like, it's not really a necessity, is it?
Mm-hmm.
No,
I
not
agree.
not really.
I
You know.
I was I was very shocked
Hmm.
at how much I enjoy Game Pass. I was like, whatever. But then when they announced, all right, we're gonna have all our first parties on there, I was like, all right, I'll give this a shot.
Yeah.
But then having it made me, I wanted to gift it to people because it was so cool that
So
I
cool.
was suddenly playing games that I would have rented from Blockbuster back in the day. But then I also have Gears and Halo and everything else. But yeah, like I'm having a blast with Recore right now. Recore. Now, unfairly touted to be this AAA exclusive.
Yeah.
It's not. It never
No.
was. It was never going to be that. But
Yeah.
I'm having a blast with it. It's Xbox One X enhanced. It's smooth. It's great. That is the perfect AA game.
Yeah.
It's like Zelda. It's a Zelda with guns because you're going in dungeons and stuff. And now it's not as good,
Yeah.
but it's got that on there. It's got DMC, Devil May Cry. It's got so many little games that I'm like, this is awesome. And then I get Sea of Thieves and Crackdown and State of Decay. Sweet,
Mhm.
this is perfect because it's $10 a month. That's 120 a year. And and they have this cool thing called quests, like Game Pass quests.
Yeah. I saw you and Sean talk about it. That's really rad. Tell the audience what it is. It's awesome.
So within each month, they give you a quest, and there's two tiers. There's first and second, and it can be play X amount of hours of this game, but they don't tell you what the game is. They give you a riddle.
Mm.
So the riddle in February was something that related to, it sounded like Mad Max. Well, I played 10 hours of Mad Max that I'd never played before. Decent
That's
game, good.
awesome.
Yeah, good to AA game, I would say. Played 10 hours of Mad Max. I got $5 to the Xbox store
It's so awesome.
for playing the game. That's half a month of Game Pass. Well, I use that to help gift Game Pass to somebody else because it's so cool. And I just got it for playing the game,
And
which is neat.
that's so rad because it's a way of like saying, hey, play this game, and if you really like it, you could buy it at a discounted rate. Like that's really awesome.
Yeah, but like,
That's
I'm never buying Recore. I'm never buying Mad Max or half the games up there, but I'm sure as heck playing them and having a blast.
yeah.
And it's the full game. It's not streamed. It's downloaded. Like achievements. It's great for people like me who are on a budget because
Mm.
I don't have money for anything else now that I bought the systems and the TVs. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not buying anything.
I got one last thing, and it is a touchy subject. You could tell me to go fuck myself if you'd like. I don't mind.
That'd be touchy.
You are it would be. You are a teacher. What curriculum do you teach? What's your class? Is it math? Something
Oh, I
says
teach
you're
English.
history. Oh, you're
I
you're
teach English.
Okay.
Yeah, but I use that to cheat because when you teach kids how to read
Hmm.
and write, you can talk about anything. So I feel like I teach philosophy and history and science, and I can mix and match. So English is a wonderful cheat because I can talk about everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So
it's really cool.
with so unsafe topic to talk about because I'm a
Okay.
gaming personality. I have my philosophy is I'm not going to ever talk about something I don't know and I don't know
Hmm.
about. I'm never going into, like, let's just say if someone's a conservative or someone's a liberal or someone's of a different political sphere that I am on, I'm never going in to change their mind. I'm just here to understand them. So I'll agree with you. I'll be like, haha, yeah. But I'm here to just understand how your brain works and what gets you to that, right? I'm never here to say you're wrong or you're right or, like I'm never going to tell someone like when it comes to video games, I'm always of the mind, and I said this I think last video, but like there's a middle ground we need to make as gamers. But it seems like every time an act of violence happens and it gets blamed on us, it
Hmm.
gets blamed on video games. It gets
Hmm.
blamed on, you know, Gears of War or Halo or GTA or insert whatever game, and
Sure.
some person will say that teaches kids to be violent.
Hmm.
What is your thoughts on that? Because to me, like when the president said, it's the media, it's video games being violent, it's teaching kids how to be desensitized to violence, and to me, I walk away from that going, okay, listen, I've bit my tongue as long as I can, right? I try to be as centrist as possible. I try to
Hmm.
be, I'll try to see the other side as much as possible. But when you come into my house and, start blaming my community for actions
Hmm.
of crazy people, then I'm going to just unleash a little bit. I'm not here to be the social justice warrior snowflake, but to me, I'm like, well, you could go fuck yourself. I guess this is the most
Right.
nice way I could put it. So to me, as a teacher, what do you see video games play as? Do you see them as a potential harmful thing for kids, or do you view them as, to me, purely art?
Hmm. All right, strap in, Joseph Moran.
All right, I'm in.
Class is in session. All right. It bears noticing that I'm sure at some point, if a microscope were ever to be put on Lohr, this would come up. My bosses would watch this video, and so I need to recognize that. And then I live in a state. I live in North Carolina, which is historically quite conservative, and they're very protective over their weaponry, personal Second Amendment weaponry, and so that tends to adjust the viewpoints of a lot of people that are making rules and laws within my own state.
Right.
And that, of course, they can gain office and go further up. And it's also something that I've found that within the education community nationwide, oftentimes lawmakers or people in charge of education would rather the problem go away, or the voice go away, so a teacher dissenting, they would rather them go away than actually execute and fix the problem. They would rather treat the symptom, not the issue.
Right.
So I have to tread somewhat carefully in my public answer of this.
Sure.
But I think it will be hopefully for anyone that sticks with me through the logic points, they'll appreciate at least the concept. The idea that video games specifically cause violence in people is ludicrous. That is absolutely, there's no evidence to truly say that the video games do this, and it's a very common denominator when there is a historically tragic event. Right. It's to blame young people and then to blame the media at the time. We used to blame rock and roll for a number of things. We blamed violent movies for a number of things. And the arrogance and the ignorance that comes from those who say, well, there should be a rating system. Yes, there is. It's on the box. You just need to look. And that often amuses me. I've worked at GameStop like you. I've also educated a number of people, adult and children.
Yeah.
And quite often, people are not worried about violence in games, but nudity tends to be what they're bothered by. They're like, oh, is there any sex or nudity? And they get bothered by that.
Yep.
That's a very natural thing. It's all over our art throughout human history, but they're bothered by that versus the violence and the removal of life in video games. I think it's absolutely horrendous that we blame media for acts of sadistic violence, traditionally by white males in our country, and we call that on video games. But if it were to happen within another demographic or another country, we would call it terrorism. Right. And that is strange to me. People forget that human beings used to lynch, murder, beat, and rape women if they could do math, and they called them witches. We forget that human beings, well before video games, executed and enjoyed the benefits of slavery. We forget that on the backs of forced labor, the pyramids were built, roads were laid in Rome. Mm-hmm. The beautiful art that we appreciate in Europe was built on forced labor, and that's a historically very violent act. And to blame it on any particular aspect of media is just foolish. Now, the caveat that comes with that, anything you are exposed to can influence who you are and what you become, and it requires good role models and good educators, and I don't mean specifically classroom educators, but educators to teach you how to incorporate and use that media. I look at Superman as a role model. I learned from Superman, from Captain Picard on the Enterprise, from the failures of SpiderMan. I learned from all of them how to be the person I want to be. I watched the acts of violence that took place in games and in movies, and I decided what I didn't want. Yeah. I decided because of Green Lantern that I wanted to be a teacher. That's weird, but it was because I had good role models, fictional and real, that taught me how to incorporate and use that media. It is because of Superman that I'm a teacher. It is because of Batman that I don't necessarily advocate killing your enemy. Now, that brings with it plenty of problems, but to blame any media solely on that media for the acts of a few is just wrong. You look go turn on the news at any given time during a crisis, and they're showing replay after replay and breaking down all the violence that's happened, and they're telling you point for point all about all the violence. Right. But very, very rarely is there a spotlight on the good people, on the positives, on the benefits. And
Like
so
what were they called in Syria? The blue hats, right? The
I
the
believe so. Yeah,
yeah,
the UNICEF workers
yeah,
or
they're coming in and carrying people out of the rubble. Like that's beauty.
Mhm.
Those are heroes.
Exactly.
And there is such a great point you make here. Jim Sterling, who I don't agree with all the time
We
on,
watched the same thing. I bet we
yeah,
watched the same. His
he
latest Jimquisition.
he he nailed it on the head where it's like, dude, I remember the war in Iraq. I remember, yeah, tanks and like actual like gunfire and actual like seeing that stuff,
Hmm.
right? Like, yeah, like
Yeah.
dude, you could go on YouTube and watch snipers blow the head off of a guy, 300 miles, 300, what is it, meters away or whatever. And like
Hmm.
you could watch that. Like it's there. Like
Hmm.
you're totally right when you're like you try to blame a medium for problems that we have in our society is stupid. And while we sit here, and this is what pisses me off, and we argue about like identity politics, like we argue and debate like who should be going into what bathroom, and like
Yeah.
what we can or can't say, what's outdated or what's not. While we debate the merits of his PewDiePie racist, we start losing what is actually happening in front of us, which is like a few days before that school shooting, there was a law that Trump wanted passed saying if you could conceal carry in one state, you could conceal carry in any state. That's a thing
Right.
that was going to happen. And now, of course, this conversation has derailed that, but don't make any mistake about it. That conversation will happen again once this whole thing blows over. And it's a sad thing. This thing will blow over. There will be another incident. I'll be real with you. I used to be a stone cold when it came to this issue, the most conservative, and not even conservative, most down the line right. Like you want an automatic, go for it. You want to buy this, that, the other thing, go for it. You want to do this, that, like to me, I said in one of my videos, like I have and still do have like this romance with weaponry because to me something about a Tommy gun screams beautiful. Something about an M1 Grand and the way that thing dings when you slam the clip in. Oh my goodness, there's something about it. There's just
Hmm.
it's fucked up, and but I can acknowledge that. And so like to me, where I drew the line is like, dude, when Sandy Hook, these are kids,
Hmm.
right? Like they're 6 years old, and seeing the Nevada shooting, I'm just like, okay, I give up. I really like. I wanted to be this huge gun collector. I wanted to collect, repeaters, revolvers from like, the Wild West, and collect World War II weapons, and just have this. I had this weird fascination, knowing like the history of like again like things like the AR, things like the Kalashnikov. Like I know a lot of like I love history, and I know a lot of these I know a lot of the history of these things, and again that weird admiration just went to, you know what, it's not worth this anymore. Like,
Hmm.
honest to God, if the Pentagon one day said we're gonna take over, do I really think that me and whatever rifle I picked that day, automatic or otherwise, semi-auto or otherwise, bump stock or otherwise, is going
Hmm.
to really do a difference against an Abrams? Am I really gonna do well against an AC 130? Can I really shoot that AC 130 down? Should I have the capability of shooting an AC 130 down? Then the
Right.
answer is no. And
Right.
so like when I see like dude like these kids in Florida and they get called actors. They're told to get over it. They're like
Hmm.
people are like, well, kids drive drunk all the time, and you don't see us taking away cars. I'm like, What the fuck does that mean? Like, do I need to know how to disassemble and assemble back an AR-15 to learn that there should be regulations on it? Of course not. Should yeah, I hate it when politicians try to act like semi-automatic weaponry is automatic weaponry. I hate that. I do. I really do. It gets to me as a person who knows about these things. But at the same exact time, do you necessarily need to? No,
Right.
because these things are designed to kill people. They're not really here to hunt. Like the AR was designed and commissioned by the military to be the most effective weapon against an AK-47. Like that's why it was made. Yeah, there's a civilian version. Version was made afterwards. It's like these
Right.
things like so when I get told it's my fault, and when like this guy, and again, I try to be as centrist as humanly possible, right? When this guy who literally signed a bill that this kid was able to get his hands on this gun because he was mentally unstable. And I remember that was one of his first presidential orders, and I was like, people are gonna die because of this, and fuck, I wish I was wrong, but bam, people are dead. Now, who are we blaming? Are we gonna blame the guy that signed the legislation? Of course not. Of course not. We're gonna blame the ESRB. We're gonna blame Joseph for actions of something stupid. And that's, I know I got on a pedestal, I said things, but it needs to be said. We have, I think, this we have this soapbox for a reason, and like people with any size community, whether it's 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. I've my great grandpa was he back in the day he was, I guess, I don't know the political system in Europe at the time, but this is on the brink of the Spanish Civil War. He was like a congressman or something of a higher official, and he was warned that the government's gonna come, they're gonna take you, and you need to leave. You need to take your family. You need to go. And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm going to still speak out against Franco. I'm not going to just sit here idly by. I'm not going to run away. I know for certain I'm going to die. But I have this platform, and as long as my voice can echo out somewhere, I'm going to keep talking. And shortly afterwards, my grandpa, during their supper, witnessed his father being taken away and never saw again. Shortly after that, he survived the early onslaught of what would be a blitzkrieg. He would run up and down the hill to sell bread to the rebels while they were in gunfights with the Spanish government, the fascist government. You know, he's seen a grenade shrapnel in my aunt's aunt, I was gonna say great aunt, my aunt's leg, and he was just like, I can't do this anymore. This is fucking gross. I can't do this. And he went to France. He went to South America. He ended up in America, and it just goes to show, like, what were we blaming for those blitzkriegs? What like that Civil War wasn't because of Marilyn Manson music, right?
Right.
It's in us, and it's that fight of, again, it's in every one of us, the best of us and in the worst of us. Again, like I have this odd romanticization of an M1 Grand going, that's beautiful, and I know that's wrong, and it's about saying, hey, when I have that weird tick, outlining it and going, oh, that shit. That's a shit emotion.
I don't know. I would disagree with you on one aspect. It's okay to acknowledge and appreciate fine engineering and well-made things. It's how you use that.
Yeah.
We have emotions that exist within us, and it's the way we use them that determines if they're right or wrong.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't feel guilty for appreciating, a piece of machinery that is well designed. Now, there are scales to that, and I think we would recognize, some designed machinery can be put to very poor use, and that shouldn't be appreciated. But you shouldn't feel bad because you appreciate a well-made knife or a well-made weapon. It's a matter of how it's used, and
But to me, in the way I see it, it's not like that like sense of guilt. It's just like, I guess it's like that wake up call of like, okay, yeah, like that's nice, but that thing kills people, and I'm not cool with it. Like it's waking up. It's that like, oh, I've used that in Call of Duty, and that looks so awesome, and I remember the ding, and
Hmm.
but then the rational thought of, but remember that's a weapon of death, and and then I'm like, you're right, Joe. Like like to
But
me,
that comes from education, like informed republics, informed people,
yeah,
informed kids. When you're taught and taught well by good teachers, and I mean that again, not as a classroom teacher only. I mean that like people who teach, parents, role models of any kind. When you're taught well, you recognize, oh, this is fantasy, or this has a destructive capability. We license and teach people how to drive vehicles powered by combustible fuel that can explode, and we control that explosion to
yeah,
propel them. Well, we put 15-year-old kids behind the wheel when we teach them to drive during driver's ed, and when they have their permits and then their licenses, they're quite young
yeah,
because they have the ability to recognize right and wrong. Mistakes happen. With less experience come more mistakes. That's why we see more car accidents amongst young people. Uh, that's why we see more kids get drink too much and get hospitalized with
yeah,
alcohol poisoning. But experience is one of those teachers. The experiences that we're seeing in our medium right now with video games being brought up and then video games are a very young entertainment form.
yeah,
um, Jack Thompson's still alive. Tells you all you need to know. You know what I mean? Mortal
yeah,
Kombat was the big catalyst for video game violence discussions and the creation of the ESRB. But when we look at our medium, it's just going through growing pains.
yep,
Now, it would be foolish for anyone to think that a billion-dollar industry is going to come to a halt, both of guns and of video games. And so the reality is, red tape or not, whomever's in office, whatever legislative group is operating at any given time, um, money will be a big factor. But if you want to counteract that, or if any group of people wants to say, hey, video games don't do this or video games don't do that, you need to, one, be the role model,
okay,
be a teacher to somebody else, but two, be an informed person, be an informed citizen, recognize both sides. Yes, you are influenced by the media that you consume. That includes news broadcasts that tell you how bad things are. So you need to recognize amongst all the things that you expose yourself to, they play a part of molding who you are,
mm-hmm.
whatever that is, and the amount that you consume of that will play a factor. I've never won the World Cup, but I've played a lot of FIFA, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
um, and we need to recognize that. But I don't think that to return this to the original conversation, I don't think that video games inherently cause violence. That's just a scapegoat. But mediums, the amount of entertainment we consume on a certain level
mm-hmm.
can influence who we are, and it takes educated people to keep us all balanced. That's
Yeah,
when I play Gears of War. I'm exposing myself to violence, and I'm okay. But
yeah,
I'm okay. But I also know when to stop. Like there's a time to put in Super Lucky's Tale, play a little Mario, go watch, Seinfeld. Take a
mm-hmm.
break from X amount of exposure. But my levels of tolerance for certain things are different than somebody else's, and you've got to experience and educate yourself into what you can handle and not overexpose in any one aspect. That's my recommendation.
I like it. I like it. So I wanted to bring you on because you make words sound real nice. You're a teacher, and I appreciate that. And
Thank you.
and so with that said, guys, gang, that's it for the Bad Bitch Show. I really I love the way the comments that we're getting every week on the show, whether they're on the Discord, Facebook group, or wherever have you, really does keep the show going. The show's never meant to be the most popular thing, but it's here to garner that conversation and to get some awareness and some faces in this community that deserve it. So Luke, I am so happy you are a part of this journey. I could talk to you for hours. I definitely feel
Yeah.
that. Just on Star Wars alone.
Yeah, that was fun, man. That was fun. I had a blast.
So yeah, thank you. And I wish if there is one thing I can, because I know with being a teacher, like my brother, he's becoming a teacher, and He's very much has to like sometimes like walk on eggshells. But you need to make a podcast of some sort. You need to make something of some sort, whatever it is, whether it's about Star Wars, whether it's on anything. Because man, the way you talk, I can listen to you for hours.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You
Thank you.
you could read, the ingredients of like laundry soap for 45 minutes. I'd be all ears. I really can't recommend you enough. So with that said, everybody, I hope you enjoy. Keep your wits about you. Oh yeah, and please hit like, share, subscribe. That helps me out. Also, sometimes, I do first impressions, news, rants, and I do these podcasts type things. So, with all that said, with
Joseph.
all that, yes.
Joseph, do your Deckard, your old man voice.
Deckard Cain. All right. So, Deckard Cain here, saying that you can reach us on YouTube at Bad Bit Games. You could go watch The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players. Diablo.
I love it.
Keep your wits about you and have a good one. Goodbye, everybody.